Just a quick note, this is an interview I had with Branford Marsalis, a big hero of mine, a virtuoso saxophone player that goes without saying, just categorically a phenomenon in the jazz community. Unfortunately, the app I had that was recording the conversation didn't work so well, and his voice came out very low in the mix, and I had to massage it with Adobe Audition to try to just beef it up wherever I can. So the sound quality really kind of sucks, but the content is stellar, and I know I really enjoyed it, and maybe you'll get something out of it too. Enjoy. Take care.
Hello.
Branford Marsalis. Who dat?
What's that?
How you doing, man? How you doing? First, I'd just like to say, as a fan, you know, I've seen you perform 3 times, once in Montreal, twice in Florida, that I'm grateful for this opportunity, for this exchange, and I'll be recording this conversation for YouTube, so beware.
My pleasure for a homeboy, man.
Secondly, you were kind enough to send me an advanced copy of your latest album, The Secret Between the Shadow and the Soul. I'm afraid I don't possess the intellectual capacity to turn that musical elixir into some banal description, but I will say that each song has a spellbinding momentum, both of sacred, you know, I hear emotion and I hear technical virtuosity side by side with that, and that doesn't always go hand in hand, you know. And I also noticed that, you know, like with Eternal or Upward Spiral and your other recent recordings, that each nuance is discernible, and even in the loud moments, you can hear the slightest hi-hat mischief, and in the quiet moments, I can hear the flicker of your keys on your saxophone, you know, and each album has, you know, I'm sure certain songs stand out for everyone, depending on who you are as a listener. I have my favorites, of course, but I've noticed that with your recordings, like your band members contribute a lot of original songs, you contribute some original tunes, and then you pluck songs from the past here and there.
Right.
Is that by design, or I think this is like almost like a formula at this point, all right?
Not really.
Okay.
But the idea is it's really easier because in a popular setting, there's so much money to be made on songwriting that, you know, there are guys in the bands who lobby to have their songs on the record even when the songs suck. And we don't really have that kind of intense lobbying, you know, play my song, play my song. I like to pick songs that have different emotional capacities. Otherwise, you know, with instrumental music, without the aid of lyrics, I mean, it'd be so easy for all the songs to start to sound the same.
Right.
If you focus on structure. So for me, I like to pick songs where the melody has a quality that's different from the other songs on the record. If they're old, great. If they're from the guys in the band, great. If they're from other people, great. I don't really care. It's just more about the song having a unique kind of emotional quality that's different than everything else, yet relative to everything else. And it just so happens that, you know, guys like Eric has 2 songs on the record. I don't think he's ever had 2 songs on the record.
Right.
Joey normally has 2 because he writes a lot. I write when I have to. I'm not really into the whole writing thing.
Do you ever have you ever rejected a song? Like someone brought a song and
Oh yeah. There's 3 songs that the guys brought in for this record that were rejected.
Okay. And then, do you reject them do you record them and then reject them, or do you just?
I suspect that they're not going to make the cut, but I'll put them on. I'll put what's not tape anymore.
Okay.
But we'll record them just to confirm. Yeah, it's not going to be on the record.
Where was this album recorded?
Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, no kidding.
It was not by design.
Oh.
We started on the record the prior October in New Orleans. It just wasn't working out because we had done a year and a half with Kurt, and we'd done some gigs as a quartet, and the gig sounded great because we were playing all the old material, and we already had the code written with that material.
Right.
And then we got this new stuff, and we kept trying to play the new stuff like it was 2015 all over again, and it wasn't. And we were arguing over how loud it should be, how soft it should be,
And when you record, are there any overdubs, or is it just all cut live?
It's all cut live.
Okay.
I mean, occasionally.
Yeah, if there's a flub or something.
We might do a bass overdub, but because we record in large rooms, and the room microphones are really a large part of our sound, it's hard to overdub because the stuff you played prior is in the room mics.
Mm. Oh, I see.
So what we would have to do is record to the track and to the room mics, which is a really dodgy proposition. So what we'll do is, if collectively it's not good, we'll redo parts of the song and treat them as inserts and edit them later.
Oh, I see.
But we don't record in booths.
Right.
So we don't have the isolation that's required to make overdubs effective.
I see. So which is unheard of in today's climate, musical climate, really.
Yeah, I know. But the reality is that acoustic records, for whatever reason, don't sound good in small rooms. And most guys record in small rooms. That's one reason that the records don't sound as good.
Yeah.
Electronic music sounds absolutely fantastic with isolation. Acoustic instruments sound like total shit with isolation. If you ever got a chance to see a symphonic recording, they record in big rooms and they use the same process. They do inserts and edits. They don't do overdubs. A lot of jazz guys start doing records in small rooms specifically so they can overdub later. But the sound of the record is so bad, I could never tolerate that sound. So we like to have these big, expansive sounds on the record. That's part of the intent, where the intensity comes from.
Yeah.
The sound of a drum in a 30-foot room is a lot different than the sound of a drum in an 8-foot room. And the wild shit is, like, if I was making a Buckshot funk record and I got a big drum set and put it in a small room, I could use a digital reverb and it sounds great. But with acoustic instruments, it just doesn't sound great. It has the weirdest effect. So I stopped trying.
Yeah.
I said, okay, we got to record it the way the old guys did.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that about with your recordings, that that's when I'm zoning out and I've got the headphones on, every nuance you can discern, and it's appreciated by the fan, the person like me that's out there listening to it with headphones and wants to hear every detail, and because the devil's in the details.
Yeah, we nerdy listeners are few and far between, but I always appreciate them because I'm one as well. And when you have all of that stuff happening in a room and it catches everything, all the nuance you're talking about, it doesn't get lost.
Yeah. Now, on Eternal and when you play ballads, I've noticed that your horn has a lyrical approach at times, at least to my ears.
Right.
Is that, and it's like mindfulness almost. I get that. Is that a conscious decision, or?
In a way, it's a conscious decision, but it's almost. I think what it is that when you listen to enough great people do things a certain way, you just psychologically get the fact that that's the most effective way for it to be done. So it's not like I have to have a conversation with myself. It's just when it's a ballad, I know what to do, so I just do it.
Right.
And the tenor songs are different than the soprano songs, so I try to have a different approach to both instruments.
I was going to touch on this a little later, but now that you mentioned that, when I watch you play, like when you're doing the Love Supreme on the DVD, or when I've seen you live, sometimes, man, you're just lost in the present moment. I mean, you are a vessel, and it's like the universe is speaking through you. And it's I see that sometimes even in sports, when you have somebody like a Michael Jordan or even a Drew Brees, for that matter, when they're on fire, you can see that there's no thinking, only execution.
Yeah, well, the thing about sports is a really shitty football player, one of the things I learned is that the reason practice is important is because if you're thinking on the field, you don't stand a chance. You have to react to what you see. And if you don't practice, then you don't know what you're seeing. And it's their thing in professional sports. If you don't watch film, you don't know what you're seeing. You're guessing. And that's a bad place to be. With me, I tend to listen to music more than practice out of the pattern books, because then when I'm playing a song, I don't have. It's almost like somebody, like if you're acting in a play, even though the words are written for you, they have to sound spontaneous. You have to create a way to make it sound like it's happening in front of people, or it becomes stilted. And I just try to avoid any sort of predictability when I'm playing. I leave space for the possibility for things to happen. And Drew's definitely. There's only 2 times I saw him this year when he wasn't like that, and that was the NFC Championship game and the game against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell is going on out there? He was like, I'm so used to not seeing him like that I was shocked to see him like that.
Yeah, he's been such a great addition for the Saints. He has just brought this team to another level. Sean Payton too. I mean, he's on the field making things happen. He's such a leader, and I know some of that translates to you yourself as being a leader of the band. Let me just pivot, because I've wanted to know this question for a long time, but I've never seen you answer it to my satisfaction in an interview. Jeff Tain left the band, and that was hard for me to take because I really loved the way he played drums. And then you got Justin, and he was terrific, young, amazing kid. Just of course, I love him now. He's great. But what happened there? Why did Watts exit the lineup?
Tain was in this place where the only music he really wanted to play was his, and it was hard for him to muster. He was about his voice at that point.
Okay.
And I think that we had been together 25 years, something like that. And he wanted to get his own band, and he wanted to play his music. And I respected that, but it was, the band was not going to be a vehicle for Tain's music 100% of the time.
Yeah, I can understand that. But he wrote some great tunes, like The Return of the Jitney Man. I mean, wow, what a tune. And you played on that tune on his album, right, with Terrence Blanchard? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hell of a record, man. It's a great record.
Yeah, that's a great record.
He was just ready. It happened,
Okay.
It happened.
Okay.
It was a long time, and he was ready. He was ready to go. I was fine with it, and I could stop working with Justin a year or 2 years before, when Tain was not available for some gig because he was starting his own band. And every time he got a gig, he would just, I can't make it, man. I got a gig with my band.
No doubt.
Which I understand.
Yeah.
I get it. But once I found Justin, I was like, yeah, man, take as many gigs as you want. You got this kid, we can develop.
Yeah, he's a terrific talent. When Joey came on board, I was, again, reluctant to accept him for whatever reason. I don't know. It's almost like I feel a loyalty to the quartet that you have going, And when a new guy comes in, I'm always like a little suspicious or something. But Kenny Kirkland, you couldn't help that situation. But Joey came in, and really on Eternal, he, my fears were laid to rest on Eternal. I mean, he just really proved himself.
Yeah, Eternal was really good. He was still, it was like this thing where guys play on the outside of the structure instead of through the structure. And on Eternal, he was just starting to not, as we call it, just outline the changes, but instead was like playing through the changes. I think the one that really shut everybody up was the Love Supreme. Like Eternal was beautiful.
Yeah.
But we weren't really fully formed as a group. But I think once the Love Supreme thing came, and all of the Kenny Kirkland guys were silent after that. We're done with that.
I think that's a true statement for myself as well, because he was terrific. But Kenny Kirkland he was something special. I mean,
Kenny had the best of both worlds because his music was really harmony heavy.
yeah,
The harmony for the Steve Vai type guys, you know, the harmony nerds.
yeah,
They could get excited by it, but it felt so good when you played it. You know, it felt incredible, and that made a big difference.
yeah.
So he had people who liked him because of the way it felt when he played, and then there were other people who liked him because they really understood mathematically what he played.
See, Joey to me seems, and maybe this is along those same lines, but Joey seems to me a little bit more of a cerebral player.
Oh, very.
Yeah.
Very, very cerebral.
Okay.
You know, but also a very emotional guy. I mean, that's why he plays ballads.
Now there's a saying in Buddhism: a scholar tries to learn something every day, and a student of Buddhism tries to unlearn something daily. And when I hear songs like the opening track, like "Dance with the Evil Toys" or Jack Baker from Bragtown, that aggressive, I hear some aggression and I hear some coloring outside the lines, and it brings that idea to mind.
Right.
Can you comment on that?
Well, it's not really. I think it all depends on what you listen to. It feels like deconstructed, but if there's a lot of avant-garde musicians that you can listen to, and if you've had a steady dose of that stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah, I've heard. What was that John Coltrane album he did with Ali?
Yeah, Rashid Ali.
Yeah, Rashid Ali, and then
in interstellar space.
Interstellar Space, right?
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with that. It's just from your quartet, you don't always expect it, I guess, because because I don't know, the ballads seem so classy and things. There's a real order.
The whole idea for us, because you have like the avant-garde and then you have the diatonic guys, is that we were going to have a song that starts out diatonically and very gradually stretches to the outside. So when you're not really noticing it, suddenly it is just chaos.
Right.
Yeah. But it's subtle. It's not just like from the get. It starts out with the really traditional stuff, and then it just stretches and stretches and stretches and gets there, which is a more interesting way for me to do it than to just get there and stay there. But Revis's band is an avant-garde band, so he brings that element to the party.
I see.
We kind of, I played on some of his gigs with this band and stuff that I've listened to. There's a pianist who plays with Miguel Ginón and Luis Perdomo, and if you hear his playing, it's really straight and traditional, but his first love avant-garde. So he gave me a big pile of records to listen to. It sneaks in when the time is right.
Yeah.
And then we'll come right back and play a regular traditional ballad. pretty psychotic, but I like it.
Upward Spiral had a big impact on me, and Kurt Elling is an extraordinary singer, and I really can't imagine anyone else, stepping into your band and just being at home, kind of like he was, and I'm sure it took some time. That song, even the song Upward Spiral in particular, that song, the lyrics, I mean not just the lyrics, but that song in particular was just wonderful. And then Blue Gardenia.
When Joey wrote it, he said, I got this song for Kurt, and he wrote it. Kurt put the lyrics on it, and we just did it. And yeah, there it is. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and then the Sting.
We don't know how to play the song just yet. It was really funny. There's a way that you have to play those songs. Justin didn't know how to do it. And of course, 2 weeks into the tour, he figured it out. I mean, that's just the way it goes,
Yeah.
The system is actually ass backwards for what we do. Because everybody uses the popular music model. So the thing is that we're not going to book gigs unless you have a record out. The funny thing is that we don't really sell a lot of records, so the emphasis is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we make a record with a guy like Kurt playing songs that we haven't really played yet, and then we go out on the road, and then 2 weeks into the tour, it's like, well, this is what the record should have sounded like. Oh well. I mean, it happens all the time.
Right. Wow.
So yeah, but yeah, Bump with Spiral was great. The Sting tune was great. It was a good record, man. Kurt Sanger's head was great.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. I mean, Kurt, wow. I mean, Doxy was a great tune. And he had yeah. I mean, the whole album was very strong. Really, really impressed. I mean, you had this song by Sting, and Joey takes that little piano solo, which is just a marvelous moment, you know? What is to become of jazz, do you think? Like straight up jazz?
I think that jazz will only be as good as the musicians who are playing. I mean, that's the long and short. I mean, when you look at, it's interesting how popular music has taken a turn where it's more like it was in the days of Lieber and Stoller in the 1950s. It's in the 1950s, in the 1960s, like Motown, you had the two Holland brothers and Lamont Dozier, and you'd look at all the songs, and they would be Holland, Dozier, Holland, Holland, Dozier, Holland. So even groups like the Jackson 5 and Martha Reeves and the Vandellas and the Supremes, they didn't write any of the music.
Right.
And then in the late 60s, Stevie Wonder shows up and says, hey, man, I want to write my own shit. And, Barry Gordy's like, well, no, you got to take the stuff we give you. And by the 70s, he's like, nope, I'm not going to do that. And Marvin Gaye was like, nope, I got shit I'm writing. I'm not going to do it. And they said, well, we won't pay for the record. So the artist said, well, we will. And the records did so well that it ushered in this era that started in the 60s with a lot of the rock bands. So in the 70s, most of the stuff that was successful, well over 75% of the music was written by the artists who sang or played the stuff. But now we're back to this era where, essentially there are two Swedes and an American who write all the songs, and everybody just sings those songs.
Yeah.
Jazz is in this funny place where the people with the best natural musical ability to play it play more lucrative forms of music, mostly in the popular genre, Broadway, country music, whatever it is. And so we have a lot of guys who are technically gifted, really great instrumentalists, but they don't really know how to communicate emotionally. It's like really, like you said, they're really cerebral. It's really intellectual. It's very top heavy. And
you have to let go in jazz a lot of times. You have to release your desire for 4/4 time signature or a short solo or whatever. You have to really just turn yourself over to the music.
That's kind of all music, but guys don't know how to do that.
Right.
And it's so bad that like you have jazz guys who started calling songs vehicles for improvisation. This weird thing happened in jazz where suddenly improv was the most important part of it. Where in the first 50 years of it, there were all these things that were unique to jazz, that were how the melody was played, how the rhythm was played, the consistent use of the flatted third and the flatted seventh, and the melodic context was unique. And now it's just guys, they just want to solo all the time. And, rightfully so, audiences will tolerate solos, but they don't want to listen to an entire night of solos without any melodic kind or any kind of general group excitement. So you have all of these really great players who are playing the half-full rooms.
That's
because they're not playing the kind of music that can attract people who aren't diehard jazz fans.
Yeah. That's one of my pet peeves with smooth jazz, is that it's usually one guy out front, like Norman Brown. I mean, I like the way he plays guitar, but you listen to one of his CDs and it's just a vehicle for him to take off, and he plays a little melody and then he takes off and then he comes back to the melody.
That music serves a different purpose because it's for a different clientele,
Yeah.
It serves mostly like, kind of background music. It's a lifestyle,
Yeah.
People, it's like, they did all of this marketing. It's like, people who were like the age of 30 and they made more than $100,000, and this is the music they would listen to. It would be on in the car. It's like you're listening but not really listening.
Yeah.
It's like most of the people who like popular music, they don't really listen to the music that much because they're always participating. They're always singing along to it. Like they're actively engaged.
Right.
They're not passive listeners. They're active participants.
Right.
And if you take that element away, they would tend to like the music a lot less.
I see.
You know, because the people who go to those concerts, like when we were playing with Sting, and first of all, Sting's a star. They love the records. They love celebrating the music. You know, the music's kind of like a celebration. And when he plays a song, you know, they start singing it. So they're not even listening to him.
Right.
You know, they're all in it. It's like, you know, it's like they should supply a fucking shower. Like singing in the shower. You know, like everybody should just be in their own little cubicle singing away.
Yeah, they're no longer a spectator. They're the performer. They're not the spectator. Yeah.
He doesn't mind it. The guys don't mind it. But it is different. In jazz, you can't sing that shit we play. You have to listen to it and react to it like you do. Like,
well, it's different. You know, I was in Miami once and I saw the Wayne Shorter Quartet and you know, Brian Blade. I mean, wow, what a phenomenon that guy is. And so I'm sitting there in the crowd, and you know, I paid good money, and I'm pretty close. You know, I'm satisfied. And I got this guy, and this woman are next to me, and it looks like his wife. All right, she's there, kind of bored. And now there's a slow part in the song, and she pulls out this candy wrapper, and she's fidgeting with the candy wrapper, and like I'm absorbed in the complete nuance of this song, and she's rubbing this candy wrapper, and you know, and I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna have to tell this guy's wife to put this thing away. And when I guess he didn't have the balls to do it or what, but finally I turned to her and I said, "Excuse me, can you put that away? You know, I'm trying to listen to this band here." Yeah, you know, I'm sure I know you get that at your shows too. As soon as you play something quiet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that the thing that I understand that in England and all of the satellite countries, the ideological satellite countries of England, Canada, the United States, Australia, the operative verb when attending a music concert is see. Right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. I'm going to see such and such, and it's not far off from the truth. They're going to see it, and you know, you can make them feel something. They get excited. They'll like it, but they're more there to see it than not. Which is one reason that we wear suits, and we make sure that people get to see how much fun that we have when we play, how we enjoy each other. Because a lot of guys kind of go on antisocial. You know,
yeah.
It's like the thing with Wayne. So, you know, Wayne sits down, he doesn't talk to the audience. They wear all black.
Yeah.
Start playing, and the music's vague and esoteric. And for a regular person, for her husband probably said, "Oh, this guy played with Miles Davis. He's a genius. You have to go." And she's watching the shit. She said, "There's nothing happening. They're just sitting there." And that's a reality, man. It's a reality. I get it, and I'm on your side in the argument, but I also understand this is one of the built-in problems with jazz having a wider audience. I mean, it's not really going to be possible.
Right.
You should just accept that.
Yeah.
Just accept it and play.
Right. It's like that. How do you make $1 million in jazz?
Start with two.
Start with two.
Start with two.
Hey, man, how would you feel about I throw some names out and you just give me a short take on some musicians? Sure. Okay. Louis Armstrong.
The first. He's the first guy that played jazz at a certain kind of sound and charisma. I mean, if you really listen to King Oliver's music, a lot of Louis Armstrong's solos were basically King Oliver's solos, except they were in tune and they projected much more, and there was a charisma that King Oliver didn't have. So, I mean, he was the first guy to present that possibility.
Louis, for me, he always amazes me because he had that sound. When you hear it, everybody knows it. You know, even from the bell of his horn. It wasn't. Of course, when he sings, you know it. You know, and it's very easy to be known for your voice. Very easy. You know, a guy like Kurt Elling. But when you're known from your horn, that to me is really special.
His shit isn't always happy. That's the difference.
Yeah.
The sound of his instrument is happy.
Yes.
It's efficient. Like there's an emotion attached to the sound he plays. It's a game changer.
Miles Davis.
Much better. Not a very good player. Incredible musician. Incredible mind. Well, you guys think about it in context. I mean, Miles Davis was playing with Charlie Parker at the same time that Pat Navarro and Dizzy Gillespie were playing. And right behind them came Clifford Brown. I mean, these were all incredible trumpet players.
Yeah.
set of conceptions of music and how to pick personnel to create a certain kind of dynamic that made him spectacular. That separated him from everyone.
I know what you mean by his trumpet playing too, and I've always felt like maybe there was a little bit of vulnerability there. Again, he kind of has the sounds, you know.
It is vulnerable because he was vulnerable. He wasn't that good at it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where but where he was good, like his mind. He knew how to make a song sound good. He knew what a song needed. He knew what personnel to hire for music that you.
Sure.
You know, he had 3 great bands. Most people have 1.
Right.
He had 3. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
How about John Coltrane?
John Coltrane was a technical marvel, a beautiful musician, one of the hardest working men in just as. I mean, he didn't show up with a lot of gifts, but he was a hard worker. He worked his way to be one of the greats. You know?
Yeah.
The musicians loved the music he did in the 50s, the Giant Steps, Countdown, and all that.
Yeah.
The stuff that he did with the quartet in the 60s was the most transcendent. Yeah. That's Louis Armstrong. Or that's Charlie Parker. No, I think that's Louis Armstrong.
Okay. Paul Desmond.
Paul was a really great player with beautiful silky sound. He wasn't anybody's band leader. He wasn't that kind of super jazz conceptualist.
Yeah.
He was the perfect foil. And like in Chris Tristano's music, I actually like Warren Marsh a lot better. But it was the perfect sound for Rubek's band at that time.
Right on.
You know, you couldn't find anything like that in Paul for that sound.
Pat Metheny.
Hey, Pat Metheny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, Pat Metheny. Yeah, he's a really great guitar player. And, you know, that record that he did, that First Circle, that record?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that record, I was at Berkeley when that record came out. And it changed a lot of ways to hear music. It was really interesting and really great. As far as jazz goes, I never really think of him as a jazz player per se, but there's a record that he did where he played acoustic guitar with Billy Higgins and Charlie Hayden. Was fucking beautiful, man. And a lot of people don't know that record. It's really an incredible record.
I think yeah. I think I've heard it before. It just
it's incredible.
I've had a few of his albums stand out to me, but that one, the one that stands out to me is Question and Answer. I mean, Roy Haynes on drums and then Dave.
Or the second one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he made some hit records, man, but I really, you know, that one's good. 8081 is just nuts.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. 8081 is wacky, but I appreciate the attempt. I mean, to really incorporate Ornette Coleman's style and music into that stuff. I mean, you know, because Keith Jarrett did it really successfully in the late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Not late 70s, late 60s, early 70s. Yeah, but I mean, when I was a freshman at Berkeley, I mean, I'd never heard guitar sound quite like that.
You know, yeah, he plays kind of like a horn player sometimes. You know, that's what I pick up on.
Yeah, I never really bought into the guitar synth thing.
Yeah.
But the guitar stuff, yeah, this is great.
Speaking of Keith Jarrett, you do the wind-up on your latest album, and let me tell you, that particular tune really speaks to me on this album. It's so joyous, and I don't think even on the original, and I've listened to a few other renditions on YouTube, you know, but the version you captured there is magical, and I think you should have opened the album with it, but that's just me speaking.
No, that was a closer. You could open the album with all the other songs.
Yeah, I mean it would be, especially because it's not one of your own tunes either from within the band, you know.
That's got no bearing on it.
Oh, really? Okay.
I mean, on Eternal we open with the Ruby and the Pearl.
Yeah.
You know.
Good point.
You start out with that after the gate, everything else just kind of can't keep up.
To me, Ruby, Eternal for me is your kind of blue. It's that kind of.
Oh shit! Wow.
That's the way I see it, man. I see that in your catalog as your kind of blue moment.
That's neat.
And your song in particular, Eternal, man, like there's that moment like 11 minutes in, and you know what I'm talking about, where it just takes off.
Yeah.
And
takes off.
Oh my God, it's like pure ecstasy. I felt like when I was listening to it, and this is many years ago, but I can still hear it. That it was just like it was a magical moment, even in the studio, where you guys were like, this is the version we have to put out there, or we got something special today.
That was it. I mean, the guys were kind of going through the motions and pissing me off and not really focused, so I basically stopped and threw a chair across the soundstage. That, and everybody played, and that was what came out of it. And I'm like, shit, there you go. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
That's more like it.
Well, Jeff was on the money too on that song, especially right where he needed to be, right there, And then you've got this pull, almost like call and response. You got this pull push action going between you and the band, and wow, I mean, just wow. But that whole album is really spectacular. I mean, one song to the next, I mean, I guess everyone has their favorite albums or songs on particular albums, but that album as a whole, that one, and Upward Spiral, to me are just, something special. Well, hey man, I don't want to keep you too long. I mean, I love this name thing where I throw a name out and you just respond to it. But I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, my wife's going to pick up my youngest from volleyball practice.
Okay. Where are you living in New Orleans, or where are you living now, man?
North Carolina.
Oh, North Carolina. Okay.
My wife's in New York, and she wasn't going down there for me.
Yeah. I still go back annually. I live in Florida now, but I go back annually because I just, I love the music, I love the food, I love the architecture, the vibe, the energy.
I hear you.
The Saints. I mean.
Yeah, man. This was a fun year, regardless of the outcome. The disaster at the end was still a great year.
It was a great year. Do you remember? I read Sean Payton's book, man, and I'll make this very brief, as brief as possible. But nobody knows this better than you that they couldn't play in the Superdome for a whole year after Katrina.
Right.
And then they were opening it up after it had been refurbished on a Monday Night Football game against Michael Vick and the Falcons. Okay.
I was there.
Okay. Well, right before that game, Sean Payton, he took them onto the field the day before so they could get used to the new turf and all that jazz and see what was going on. And after practice, all the lights went out in the stadium, and then on the monitors, they displayed pictures of everything the city had been through up to that point, getting back in the storm and all that thing. And Payton said when they turned the lights on, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. And he told the team right then and there, he says, we have to win this game for these fans tomorrow night. And you could feel the energy that night, right? Nobody wanted to play the Saints that night because it was.
Yeah, I lost my voice that night, and I lost my voice because I went to New Orleans for the Super Bowl. I didn't go to Miami. I've been to a million Super Bowls. I wanted to be in New Orleans with them.
Yeah.
I lost my voice that night. In the history of my relationship, I was at the very first game.
Yeah, man. When Porter grabbed that Peyton Manning pass and took it in for 6 points, man. Oh my God, I know, dude. Sealed the deal.
Played with Al Hurts band, and Al Hurts band played on the field in Tulane Stadium in the first 2 years.
Wow.
So I went to almost every home game, 67 and 68. They only won like 3 fucking games in 2 years, but I've been following those fools for a long time, man.
Yeah. I mean, wow. You know them more intimately than I do, then.
I'm older than you. That's all I think.
Well, hopefully they'll do great next year, man. We got one more shot with Drew Brees, man. Hey, thanks for the phone call. Really appreciate it. It was great getting some of these questions answered, and I've always been interested about these things, with especially Jeff leaving the band and stuff, and it's just been great getting to know you and talk to you. And I'm gonna turn up at one of your shows one of these days. Then
That would be great.
All right.
And feel free to disagree with me on Twitter. I kind of enjoyed that shit, man.
Yeah, I kind of laid off a little bit because I was like, I don't want to scare this guy off now that he's committed to.
Nah, good. I mean, I believe in, everybody can have informed opinions, and then they can have opinionated opinions. Fuck it. I mean, that's what it's about. It's a free forum. I know, as long as it's within reason. I mean, some of this shit is so crazy. I just feel you win.
Yeah.
Started with when the shit was like, Hillary Clinton telling children in a fucking pizza parlor. I said, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I still don't. I don't ban people, whatever that thing is. I just okay. I'm not going there.
Well, I heard Alan Watts describe it like, if you got a basketball and you can point to the center of the basketball, but if someone is standing next to you, that's not the center for them. They see the basketball, they see the center in a different area. So there is that, and then there's people that are just they're whacked out. I mean, that pizza story is
Look, I mean, a lot of this shit is people have it's like, why do people fight over religion and politics? Because it's based on two things, really. It's based on a feeling, and with religion, it's based on your belief in something that you can't prove. And then when you start getting in that time, you start trying to get people. It's like I was talking to a Muslim dude once about why they make women wear veils. And their version is to protect the women because men are lustful. And I said, then men are the problem. Why don't the men wear veils? Why don't you? And he got so fucking mad. He said, are you disrespecting Islam? I said, well, I see where this is going. And I'm in their country, so I'm not changing the subject.
Yeah, exactly.
Next thing you know, I'm being fucking jail for blasphemy.
Right.
But it's like, it seems like a reasonable question to me. How can you protect women from men if the men are the problem? Reform the men. He didn't want to hear that shit.
No.
All right, man. Yeah, that was just Josh. Let's move along.
Yeah, I'm kind of discouraged, with this thing against free speech these days. You should be able to, no question is taboo,
Some questions are taboo.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if somebody's talking to your wife or something, but I mean, when you're talking philosophically or against, I don't know, man. I just feel like if your religion's there, it's up for debate.
Well, I mean, people can't handle it, man. That's how people get killed.
Yeah.
I mean, my thing is that, it's like if you have people who need to believe in the thing regardless of whether it's true or not, express your opinion and move on.
Right.
It's like if you got like my mother-in-law truly believes that there's a threat at the southern border. She believes that Europe is going to be overrun by Muslims by 2050. And I mean, I can't dissuade her from that. The data can't dissuade her. She said that the Muslims have taken over Germany, and I got on the computer. I said, let's just type this shit in, okay? I said, what is the population of Muslims in Germany? It's 0.4%. I think it's 0.4, Anita. Well, I mean, who's Google? How can you trust them? And I said, okay, you need to believe this. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, at that point, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to believe it. So, okay, we live in this, you're going to always be my mother-in-law. Fuck it. We just coexist. We just, okay. She said, because she's from Sweden.
Yeah.
She says, women are dyeing their hair black to not get raped by Arabs. I said, are you trying to tell me that Arabs only fuck blonde chicks? She's blonde. Oh my God, are you trying to tell me that? Well, that's what I read. So that year for Christmas, I bought her some black hair dyes. I said, here, so you can feel safe. And of course, everybody turned on me. My wife, my daughter, they're like, oh, you're an asshole.
Oh, boy.
I laugh at it. That's my point. I just make fun of it. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get mad at you.
Yeah, me neither, man.
My kids are screaming at her, Grandma, you're racist. I'm like, man, come on, just roll with it. She's 70-something years old. She's not changing, but,
Yeah.
And she's here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right, brother.
All right, man.
Yeah, you ain't got to worry about me, man. Do your thing. We'll be good.
All right, man. Take care.
All right?
All right, man.
Thanks for the call.
My pleasure. Yeah.